What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Before we get into today's video, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to our channel. It does us a huge favor, and it also keeps you up to date whether, when we're dropping videos and whatnot and when new stuff is coming out. Also, make sure you head over and check out the podcast. Every episode is dropping on Wednesday. We've been having a lot of awesome guests. So make sure you go head over there and check that out. Make sure you give us a review and let us know what you think about it. Also, make sure you head over and check out Numa Outdoors. We've been running a lot of their products. Make sure you head over there, check their stuff out. If you're going to buy something, save yourself 20% off with WDNA20. And let's get into today's video on broadheads. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about my personal review on the Beast Broadhead and the Evolution Outdoors Hyde. I've been running these two broadheads exclusively the last couple of years, and I've had really good results with them. But before we jump into the nitty-gritty stuff, let's talk about kind of what each broadhead is, the pros and cons and whatnot, and then we'll get into my reviews. So let's start with the Beast. The Beast came out a couple years ago, designed by Josh Bomar. When I first saw this, I kind of thought of like the typical mechanical broadhead. Kind of looked like a Rage. I just thought it was another mechanical broadhead on the market. And then I saw the results of the Beast and kind of how it performs and its bone avoiding technology. It really caught my interest. So myself and team member Garrett Addison, we both bought a pack and ran these. Basically, it's made out of aluminum. They do make a titanium version in a 125, and they are coming out with 100 grain titanium, which I'll be switching over to. But I didn't have any problems with the actual aluminum ferrule. First impressions when I took out of the box, blades were incredibly sharp. Like, it comes with little tabs here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it literally comes with finger tabs so you don't cut yourself because they're so sharp. And basically, the big proponents of these broadheads were the blades, how they can avoid the bone. If you hit like a rib cage, it'll actually bend in and then completely pop open, which we'll show here in a second. But yeah, I mean, I had to test these, and I had really good results with them. They do come in a 2-pack or a 3-pack. Price point, they're a little expensive. I wouldn't say abnormal, but for 2 of them, you can get them for $60, and it does come with a practice head. I was really impressed on the flight of these. I was able to shoot these out to 100 yards at my house, and they flew true just like my field point would. So I did shoot 2 animals with these. I shot my buck in Minnesota, and I also shot a doe in Minnesota as well, and both went under 50 yards. I had a pretty marginal shot on my buck, so I thought, based on the footage before I actually got to the buck, and he died within, a minute, and he went 50 yards. The doe went like 30, 40-ish yards and died right away too. So I was super impressed with these. I do think they're worth the hype, honestly. I think they're worth checking out. I don't think you can go wrong with this. And just, it's very compact, it's very sleek, it flies like a field point, and basically how they work here, see if I can't cut my finger. They deploy really fast. It's spring loaded here. They're rear deploying. The blades are extremely sharp. I mean, I would say my con, if I had to give these a couple cons, the price point, $60 for 2 broadheads, so you're $30 a piece. However, I think you could definitely shoot 2 to 5 animals, depending on how the blades are. Definitely check those out, obviously, before you do that. But my con is that I can't replace these. So that kind of sucks. I can't buy replacement blades for this broadhead. But, man, this thing has already gone through 2 animals, and they're still super sharp on here. I mean, I would use this again for sure. But also, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of aluminum ferrules. If I do have an option to shoot titanium, I would. However, I had no problems. I never had broke this broadhead or bent it or anything like that. I do like a chisel tip on the end as well. But now with the new titanium, before it was 125, you could only get the titanium in. And now I think Beast recognized the importance of titanium and the need and want between the consumers and bow hunters and the brand. They came out with a 100 grain titanium broadhead, which we should be seeing soon, if not already. But yeah, I mean, I really like this broadhead. Typically, like in the past, I like screw downs. So like when you're practicing, you can screw down and set your blades in and put a lock screw in there like a Sever would have or a Schwacker. I really like that because I can use the exact broadhead. However, this doesn't offer that, but it does come with a field or a practice tip, which is pretty awesome. It flies completely true. So I use that, but I also sacrificed one. I mean, for me, it's important to know how the broadhead's going to fly. So I usually buy a 3-pack, and then I sacrifice one of those broadheads and shoot with that consistently just to make sure everything's good. However, I don't think you need to do that, but you certainly can. But yeah, that's the Beast Broadhead. Team member Garrett Audison shot his Wisconsin buck with it last year. Thing went like 30 yards and died right away. Also, when he hit that buck, it was a little high, and we were kind of nervous about the shot placement, and within seconds, we heard the crash, and that buck ended up dying. So based on our 3 deer we've shot with this Beast Broadhead last year, super impressed, and this will be in my quiver going forward in 2025. So now let's talk about the Evolution Outdoors, specifically the Hyde. This is a broadhead that I've used prior to last season, and I actually did shoot a couple animals with this last season. The reason why I really like this broadhead is just simply because there's no failure, right? Like it's a hybrid head, so it's got a 3/4 inch cutting diameter here on the front, and it's a cut on contact. So what that means is it'll come in and hit your animal and cut with that broadhead, that fixed blade, and then the blades, mechanical blades, will eventually deploy, and it is a front deploying broadhead. So they'll deploy like that into a 2-inch mechanical. So you have a 3/4 inch fixed blade cut on contact with a 2-inch mechanical front deploying broadhead. So in worst case scenario, a blade breaks off, which I've never seen happen in this head. Something crazy happens where these blades don't deploy, you at least have a 3/4 inch fixed blade to do some damage. But I shot a handful of animals with this broadhead in the last couple of years. I shot my first elk with this, and that bull went 20 yards and died. I couldn't believe it, actually. But surprisingly enough, I mean, just based on my experience, I haven't had many animals go over 50 yards with this, if not any. Usually, I mean, I think 3 animals that I've killed with this broadhead has died within eyesight. It does extreme damage. First animal I did shoot with this was a buck in North Dakota in 2023, and I hit him. He took a couple steps and tipped right over, and the blood was insane. And I wasn't expecting a blood trail, you know, with him dying so close to me, but there was an insane amount of blood on the ground, and I was super impressed with this. And I do like the fact that it's kind of foolproof. These are exchangeable blades, so if you want to replace the blades, you certainly can. And the ferrule is aluminum. They do make a steel option in a 125. This is 70-75 aircraft aluminum, meaning it's super strong and it's kind of like bend resistant. I've seen these shot into cinder blocks and they just don't bend. So super impressed. For a 3-pack of these are $65, just under. So definitely a better price point. You get an extra broadhead versus like the Beast, but man, I don't think you can go wrong with this broadhead either. I just, you know, if you gave me one of these arrows to pick from, I wouldn't have a problem with choosing either or. It's just phenomenal broadhead overall. I would highly recommend using this to any hunter, whether you're an elk hunter. They do make a Whitetail Fury, I believe it's called. Basically, it gives you a bigger cutting diameter in your mechanical blade. So if you're purely like a deer hunter, whether it's mule deer or whitetail or coos or anything, whatever you're hunting, that's definitely a head to check out. But if you're going like maybe elk hunting or something a little bigger, I'd look at the Hyde, not the whitetail version. But super good broadhead. I would highly recommend that. It flies really good, and it does come in like a little neat package like this. So you get your package, it's in kind of foam like that, and then they also make a practice head so you don't have to waste a broadhead. But again, like I said, I usually pick one. I order an extra one, and I use that to shoot with at least a couple times just to make sure it flies true. However, they do make this practice head, and it flies extremely true. It's about exactly the same how this would sit if it was back in the ferrule like this. So not a whole lot of surface area there. I like both of these because they do come with practice heads. I'm not a huge fan of broadheads that don't come with a practice head of some sort, or a broadhead that I can actually lock down and not use the blades. But both are extremely well made. I don't think you can go wrong with this. If I had to choose a winner going forward, I personally would choose the Beast Titanium, only because I like a titanium ferrule. The Beast is, gosh, I don't even know, just a hair longer than the Hyde would be, but I just had really good results with both of these, but I just do really like this Beast Broadhead. I think it did really well for me and our other team member, but yeah, so that's kind of my review on both of these broadheads. I think they're extremely popular in the archery industry right now. They kind of go neck and neck, but again, if you handed me one of these arrows and said you got to choose between one or the other, I would flip a coin. But if I had to choose, again, I would choose a titanium Beast. So if you're interested, go check that out. The Beast Broadhead is designed for a big hole on entry. Due to the rear deploying, your entry hole with the Hyde is going to be a lot smaller, but the exit is going to be a big hole. But this does some damage. So again, both good broadheads. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you go check both these broadheads out and give them a try at least. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.